If a horde of mindless zombies descended on your soulless corporate toy store in search of steep discounts on useless plastic, and then those same zombies became infected with mind control parasites that somehow made them even worse, what would you do? You heard the hook. We've got a full-blown Dawn of the Dead situation with a sci-fi twist. Only problem is, our heroes don't have the benefit of a shopping mall full of actual supplies. In that case, survival in this situation means two things: figuring out what's going on and holding up someplace safe until it all blows over. Sounds simple, right? Well, that's cause it is. Or at least it would be if our merry band of misfits could put their petty personal conflicts aside long enough to actually get anywhere. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the space turkeys in Black Friday. Ken's basically given up on life. Ever since losing his job in a layoff more than a decade ago, he's been working the sales floor over at We Love Toys, which is why instead of enjoying a lovely Thanksgiving dinner with his daughters tonight, he'll be clocking in for a 10-hour shift of quiet desperation during the worst time in retail.
Green Friday. Corporate said Black Friday was racist, so they changed it to Green Friday.
Why am I not surprised? Anyway, for some reason, it seems Ken never considered seeking employment elsewhere, and instead of accepting the suboptimal situation for what it is and doing the best he can for his family, he's content with putting up a too cool for school facade for his colleagues while effectively sleepwalking his way to liver cirrhosis. What a great dad. Still, despite his many shortcomings, he's far from the most pathetic person in this place. That title almost certainly goes to Chris, the resident germaphobe and obsessive compulsive hand washer. We come to find out he's been here for 2 years, and yet he's somehow always caught off guard by the fact that public places are kinda gross. For real though, dude, just buy a box of latex gloves if you're that freaked out. Given everything we've seen as a society the last few years, no one's gonna give a shit if they see you wearing PPE in public. I mean, sure, they might laugh about it later, but something tells me he gets plenty of that already. Of course, you'd think someone as terrified of life as Chris would notice the abundance of shoppers coming in who just don't look right. After all, it's the holiday season for microbes too, and you know the world is full of people who'd fight through goddamn Ebola if it meant saving 50% on stuffed animals. However, it turns out their affliction is more than a mere seasonal illness, something which Chris is about to figure out the hard way. Maybe he's not a complete waste of skin after all. Unfortunately, the management's response to the young man defending himself is to immediately place him at fault and accuse him of murder because we live in a dystopia. I mean, just look at these freaks that attacked him and tell me he didn't do the right thing. It's time to get you strapped, or even clipped, depending on your choice of accessory. What, he thought I meant that kind of strapped? No way, that's your responsibility. My job as a YouTuber is to make sure you're going into the holiday season with only the most cutting edge of shopping weapons. A high-speed, low-drag, fully semi-automatic wallet from today's sponsor, Ridge. That's right. The end of times are upon us. End of the year times, that is. And if you're like me, you'll be slapping leather at the cash register over and over and over again while stacking up presents for the people you love. In that case, you can't afford to be fumbling on the draw with that raggedy old cow pouch you call a wallet. Ridge products come out easy, carry even easier, which is great news for all you folks out there who haven't worn regular pants since 2019. Make no mistake, however, this isn't some piddly little pocket piece that only holds a couple bills. Ridge wallets can hold up to 12 cards and still have room for cash. If you need more than that, you might want to work on your spending habits. And with its lifetime warranty and 99-day risk-free trial, you better believe Ridge stands behind its products. By the way, these bad boys make great gifts too. And if you head on over to theridge.com/nerdexplains, you can get up to 30% off site-wide until December 20th. If you use my link, you can enter your email/SMS for a free chance to win a Ridge bundle worth $4,000. No purchase necessary, which includes their brand new wallet and key case set in Hyper Lime. Don't get caught empty-handed. Head on down to the link in the description and pull the trigger on a Ridge wallet today. That being said, he doesn't exactly do the best job pleading his case. Seriously, dude, just tell them there's a live one trapped under the bouncy balls and let them find out firsthand what you were dealing with. After all, zombie or not, there's no way that could have been fatal. And even if it actually was, they'd still be able to take one look at the dude's jacked up face and realize there's something wrong with him. Fortunately, or unfortunately, this isn't the only case we can point to in backing up Chris's story, as shortly thereafter, Ken is forced to bludgeon another ghoulified shopper to death in defense of the new guy, Emmett. Man, first day on the job and you already got mauled by a customer. Worst part is, this probably isn't even that rare. Whatever the case, news of the second attack leading to serious injury for one of the employees still somehow isn't enough for them to cut Chris loose. Mostly because they're too busy attacking each other about training videos and work ethic and wasted potential, and pretty much anything but the fact that one of their dudes just got Frenchied by a mutant. Meanwhile, the store's manager, Jonathan, can't be bothered to close the beach this close to tourist season because Amity Island simply can't survive without the influx of cash. Yes, precious money. What a fascinating and multi-dimensional character he is. It literally takes poor Emmett seemingly having a seizure to snap everyone out of their respective brain loops, which, of course, they react to poorly. First of all, you should never try to arrest the person's movements like Ken does, as they'll literally be thrashing around with all their strength. All you can really do is clear the area of anything that might harm them and time the episode, as if it runs longer than 3 minutes, you should probably call an ambulance. Problem is, as assistant manager Brian finds out, emergency services aren't responding, and it turns out this is no ordinary seizure.
Physical contact.
Wait until HR hears about this. So, yeah, very clearly Suspenders has turned into some kind of horrible monster. In that case, we should probably think about whacking him with something just a little bit harder than birthday cake. Seriously, did no one see what just happened, with the tongue thing? Why is everyone acting like he's still a regular person and not that? They're all just lucky Michael J. White was around to nail his before anyone else could catch the ugly. Only thing is, they should have told him to aim for the head, as now there's a deranged mutated hipster lurking inside the store somewhere. Great. Oh, and we should probably do the same thing to Anita so she doesn't turn into a half-baked, predictable jump scare 5 minutes from now. Think about it. Ken watched Emmett get slugged by that crazy lady out on the sales floor. And now they all just saw him do the same thing to Anita. By the transitive property of geometry, that makes her a zombie. And as such, she should be subject to immediate shovel decapitation. At the very least, we should try to zip tie her to something like we did with Chris, who, by the way, is still restrained, despite irrefutable proof that his story was true. Given everything we've seen so far, i.e. vicious mutated customers and lack of EMS response, it should be clear to everyone involved we're dealing with a serious problem that extends well beyond the confines of this store. But just to help drive it home, they finally managed to get through to another We Love Toys branch. And the picture they paint isn't a pretty one.
Coppers are going crazy. They're attacking us. Don't let them get.
I just have one question. Why the hell would she pick up the phone? And for that matter, why are you people calling toy store branches and not friends of loved ones to make sure that they're okay? Your phones, you idiots. Use your smartphones. Not only could they be used to communicate and coordinate with others around town, we could use them to check for reports on the situation at large. Instead, our heroes immediately descend into argument about whether they should make a run for it or hunker down in the store. And while either of those options might be correct, it all depends on what's going on outside. For example, if the military is setting up safe zones at various locations, piling into Ken's SUV and riding off into the sunset is definitely something we should work towards. On the other hand, if the situation is completely f***ed out there and there's nowhere to go, we can shelter in place for a bit while we work out our next move. Either way, the most important first step is getting that information. If the cell network stopped working, we look for a radio. Worst case scenario, someone gets voluntold to sneak out into the parking lot and listen to Ken's car radio while the rest of us kick our feet up on the table and create a diversion. Ultimately, the decision is moves made to secure the store and sit tight until something changes. And while it's not the worst idea in the world, there's a couple things to think about. Number one is combat. There's no telling how many of these things might already be inside, and given that crazy snot rocket attack we've seen, we'll want to keep as far away from them as possible. In that case, wiffle bats, boxing pads, and foam swords aren't gonna cut it. Instead, we should look for polearm type weapons we can use to create distance. Things like fire axes and sharpened mop and broom handles would be ideal, but we could even disassemble some of the racks and storage to make use of the smaller components. If nothing else, we'll have to make do with basic handyman implements on site like Archie's nail gun. However we choose to arm ourselves, we'll want to create some kind of protective clothing we can use to mitigate their primary attack. It seems that whatever's turning people into zombies is transmitted through the mouth using that proboscis thing. So I'd want to find some heavy cloth, or better yet, a face shield to reduce my chances of becoming infected. The second thing we need to think about is our long game. We Love Toys isn't a mall like Walmart, where we can make use of the available food supplies to hold out for an extended period. The best we can hope for in this place is to use the sink and any water cooler jugs in the break room to keep from dying of thirst, which are certainly valuable resources, don't get me wrong, but we don't know how long this nightmare is gonna last. A healthy adult can go weeks or even months without food, but if the situation hasn't improved by then, we'll all be much too weak to fight our way to a better location. All this is to say, we need to come up with an escape plan in case it looks like the situation is not going to improve. Once again, we know that at least Ken has a vehicle large enough to transport all of us, so we should try and get eyes on it to make sure it wasn't stolen or destroyed when all broke loose. To that end, I suggest we go up on the roof. This will also help give us an idea of what's going on around town, since the plucky band of nobodies still hasn't thought to do that. And speaking of our protagonists, they decide to diminish their extremely limited firepower even further by splitting up. Team A, made up of Archie, Chris, and Brian, will attempt to close the employee exit to keep more shamblers from coming in. Meanwhile, Team B, consisting of Ken, Jonathan, Marnie, and Ruth, will go to the main office to hide. Kinda seems like a waste of resources, doesn't it? Like, I get it'd be best to get the weaker members out of harm's way, but then how about we drop them off in the office as a group, and then go deal with the exit? Besides, they aren't exactly pouring in like World War Z right now, and even if they were, we wouldn't be able to reach the door anyway. Alternatively, instead of surrendering the entire warehouse to the single zombified Anita, how about we all take turns curb stomping her and leave the dead weight there? Well, whatever. I guess we're doing this. And somehow, it doesn't immediately end in disaster. Archie manages to shut the door after swiftly dispatching two of the freaks with kung fu, and the others didn't even die once on their way to the office. Although, Ken does run into a bit of trouble with Butterbean after swinging by the bathroom. Should have just left him in the stall, dude, especially when you were completely unarmed. Luckily, Jonathan comes in clutch with a broken champagne bottle, which coupled with Archie's takedowns lends us valuable intel and that the zombies can be killed like regular people. In that case, we should regroup and start clearing out the rest ASAP, because just like we heard from the other branch, the shoppers are building something inside the store, and whatever it is, probably not going to like. However, just when it looks like we might actually be making some amount of progress, our heroes decide to stop the whole world after finding out this year's holiday bonus was axed, cause, you know, corporation's bad.
What the Jonathan, this is even for you.
Bro, take a look around. There are literal zombies clawing away at the windows 20 feet away from you. Right now, the only currency that matters is ammunition, and I highly doubt the holiday bonus paid out in green tip. This is yet another discussion that can absolutely wait until after the apocalypse, provided we even survive, which I might add is looking a lot less likely every time we derail our operations to argue about something. Sadly, it seems none of our hard work matters matters anyways, as before the gang can have Jonathan burned alive at the stake for enforcing company policy, a rogue police cruiser plows through the entrance, thereby annihilating Ruth and clearing a path for the hordes to shuffle in behind it. Just to make matters worse, the infected appear to be changing, and their new forms are far deadlier than anything we've encountered so far. This unforeseen development ultimately costs us our strongest member after Archie valiantly stayed behind to hold the line, and it nearly cost the rest of us after dumbass Chris leads one into the back. Well, at least she hit him more than once. Although, given how much Emmett's changed since we last saw him, I'd feel a lot more comfortable if his head were separated from his body. Like Jonathan brings up from his Bruce Campbell days, they're never dead. And besides, what else are we gonna do right now? Furthermore, the fact that she had to wail on the thing so many times is not a good sign. Initially, all it took was a single smack from something solid to put them down for good. Even Chris managed to do that one using nothing but a beanbag. It seems whatever kind of transformation they're going through is making them all around much more difficult to deal with. In that case, I say, screw this whole place. It's time to GTFO. Sure, we have no idea what's going on out there, but that's only because we haven't bothered to check. Whatever the case, the surefire fallback in any kind of zombie apocalypse scenario is to leave the cities and just generally get away from people. After all, no people, no zombies. Fact is, these things are only getting stronger, so it's only a matter of time until they plow right through our flimsy barricade and tear us all to pieces. And with no reason to believe help is coming, there's no way I'm sitting here waiting to get munched on.
I don't think this night can get any worse.
And now the power's out. Awesome. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. We crack open one of the loading bay doors and peek outside. If there's zombies out there, I feign a sprained ankle, then we send our fastest runner to lure them away, while our second fastest runner goes for Ken's SUV. Otherwise, we head straight for the vehicle and swing back around to pick up the others. Assuming any of us survive, we stay on surface streets and back roads to avoid the gridlock, undoubtedly jamming up all major highways, and keep going until we find a Cabela's on top of a hill surrounded by a moat. Either that, or until one of these morons thinks to turn on the radio or check their phone, or otherwise find a way to figure out where we should go next. All I can say is, here's hoping Ken has a full tank of gas. However, despite things only getting worse by the second, the gang decides the best thing to do is sit around in the dark and talk about their feelings, which of course leads to more arguing. I guess Ken is upset that Chris hasn't done more with his youth, and then Chris fires back, calling out Ken for acting like a teenager and dating Marnie, who's 20 years younger than him. And then Marnie gets weirded out because they're not actually dating, and no, for real, what the hell's wrong with you? In all my years of doing How to Beat videos, I've never come across a group of people as utterly unconcerned with their own survival as you imbeciles, and I can only assume it comes from an unconscious desire to subtract yourselves from the gene pool for the betterment of all mankind. Case in point, all this bickering wastes just enough time for Emmett to come back to life and start causing problems again. And that is why you never forget the double tap. And you, video audience, should never forget the triple tap, which, if you haven't heard, is my awesome second channel where I work on crazy action comedy shorts with morally bankrupt protagonists. Would you like to know more? Then check out the link in the description. Where was I? So yeah, the gang finally kills Emmett, again, although they don't bother to smash his head in beyond recognition, so I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back to life a second time in a few minutes. For now, the most pressing issue is the fact that Ken was bitten during the scuffle, which he seems to believe is going to turn him into one of the creatures. The way he sees it, this means they'll have to get the hell out of here and leave him behind. Or, you know, we could always just kill him, get it over with. Then again, that might not be necessary. I mean, he could very well be right, but so far, we've only seen people turn after getting snorked on. Either way, we could totally see how having someone with us who thinks he's infected and would therefore be willing to sacrifice his life at a moment's notice could be extremely useful, especially if we go with my early strategy of luring them away and going for the car. Besides, Besides, we saw what Emmett went through before becoming hostile, so as long as we keep Ken out front and don't hesitate, we should be good. But no. Looks like we're just going to go on without him, which is fine, I guess. But we should at the very least ask him for his car keys before we do. It's not like he's gonna need them anyway. The plan now is to exit through the loading bay and into the back of a semi-truck that was dropping off a shipment when this whole mess clacked off. According to Marnie, the keys should be in the ignition based on a brief conversation she had with the driver, so it's just a matter of worming our way out a hatch onto the roof and into the cab. Right? Well, maybe. First, we should probably make sure that whoever we send out to do this is actually capable of driving a semi-truck in the first place, meaning we probably shouldn't send Chris, who can't even drive an automatic. Oh, and just to make sure this was a complete waste of time, for some reason, he decides to stray far enough from the objective to draw in a horde of infected, or maybe it was when he started honking the frickin' horn out of frustration. Who knows? What matters is they almost immediately begin tearing their way into the trailer, which might as well be made out of cardboard given the zombies' newfound strength. Meanwhile, back in the warehouse, Ken is passing the time waiting for Jesus to take the wheel when he discovers a chunk of flesh wrapped in a soggy rag, which somehow endows him with the knowledge that it was Brian who bit him and not zombie Emmett. Yeah, more on that later. Whether or not it's legit, the realization causes him to come completely unglued, which in a mall full of ravenous zombies is probably not a good idea. Fortunately, Ken's cries of rage only seem to draw in one of the freaks. Unfortunately, it's the freakiest one of all, and in fact, the very same one that killed Archie. At any rate, this shocking development results in a game of high-stakes hide-and-seek, wherein Ken and the creeper both sorta just do-si-do around the racks for a while, during which time Ken unwittingly sparks a massive electrical fire using a defective teddy bear. I don't know about you, but between the creature and the raging inferno, I would not want to be in that store right now, much less the warehouse. The good news is, we don't have to be, and I think I know just how to go about making a clean getaway. All we have to do is toss something heavy to the far side of the warehouse and listen for old Bird Brain to take the bait. A little too simple perhaps, but the fact is, a sound drew it here in the first place, so why couldn't it work again? As for what we do next, I say we calmly and quietly move back onto the sales floor and find the nearest exit. The way I see it, we only had that one coming after us because the rest were too busy stacking boxes. Either that, or they already added themselves to the meat sculpture housed within. Ultimately, if we stay in the burning building, we're hosed no matter what. So we might as well give it a shot and hope that there aren't any more special infected poking around in here. Plus, Ken held on to his keys. All he has to do is make it out to the parking lot. I could definitely think of worse situations. You know, like fleeing the back of a rapidly disintegrating semi-truck, only to find the building you just left is now on fire, totally filled with smoke. Don't worry though, turns out Jonathan's been preparing his entire life for this exact situation.
I can walk through this whole store with my eyes closed.
Can you now? Yeah, here's the thing. Knowing which way isn't gonna matter when you're all choking to death from smoke inhalation. For real though, ever start a fire with the flue closed? I promise you, you're not going to like what happens next. There's a reason every fire safety lesson talks about staying low and crawling to safety in a smoke-filled environment. Even a little bit is extremely disruptive, and if it's so thick you can't even see, you're pretty much already toast. Honestly, we'd all be better off piling up the boxes in the trailer and climbing out through the hatch on the roof. At that point, it's just a matter of Darwinism to see who makes it safety. Don't be the slow gazelle. Jokes aside, I'd take that over walking blind in a burning building any day of the week, especially knowing the guy who's supposed to be leading us to safety is wearing a bow tie. That doesn't exactly inspire confidence. And yet, by some miracle, they all managed to make it up to the roof without losing consciousness. What's more, it looks as though all the zombies surrounding the store have suddenly vanished. We shouldn't count on it staying that way, but at least for now, all we have to do is find a ladder or something and make a run for it. Sure, we won't be able to borrow Ken's ride, but what about someone else's? I mean, he can't really be the only person working here that owns a car, right? Well, who knows? What matters is that we actually have a chance now, which makes Jonathan's next move all the more confusing.
Black Friday is over!
But why? It's not like he was strapped up with the explosives moves or capable of fighting them off or anything. He didn't even buy the others any extra time. The shoppers will be right back to clawing at the hatch again in just a matter of seconds, possibly with Jonathan having joined them after being turned. Honestly, I think he just, got tired of being alive. And if that's the case, I gotta say, what a waste. Just like before with Ken, all that unalive energy could have totally come in handy if we needed a diversion. Instead, he just fed himself feet first into at no benefit to anyone else. Then again, probably won't make a difference anyway, as almost immediately the three survivors get right back to arguing for no goddamn reason. This time, it's brought on by Brian's admission that he was the one who bit Ken, knowing it would get rid of him, which of course is extremely stupid in its own right. Like, so what if he was a D-bag dude? We need all the help we can get right now, and you literally never have to see him again after this. Seriously, why does everyone keep acting like we're all gonna be clocking right back into We Love Toys tomorrow morning? By now, probably half the world's population's already dead. I'm sure there's gonna be a few job openings when this eventually blows over. If we survive, that is. And that's a pretty big if. Suffice to say, if you live through the apocalypse only to stay stuck in the same lame job you hate, that is 100% on you. All this being said, this particular squabble is unique in that it actually leads to a positive outcome. God, finally some peace and quiet. Sadly, the tranquility is short-lived. As it turns out, the full dumpster below broke their fall. That's one way to get down, I guess. Still, I'd much rather look around for a ladder, or even go with Chris's option of braiding the available Christmas lights and rappelling over the side. Yes, jumping into a dumpster like that is worth considering during a major fire or something. But in cases like that, you'd typically have no other choice. Plus, there's a team of paramedics waiting below in case you fracture your pelvis on impact. In this nightmare world, where running is essential for survival, a broken ankle might as well be a sucking chest wound. But if we just had to do this, there's definitely a correct way to go about it. First thing to remember is that we'll want to resist the urge to jump off at the edge, as this could affect our trajectory during the fall. Unless the dumpster is clearly positioned some distance away from the building, a simple step is all it takes. At that point, we'll want to sort of sit back with our arms and legs outstretched to maximize surface area and pray to God we don't take a Barbie doll where the sun don't shine. After landing safely in the trash, the trio heads out to the parking lot where there's still no sign of the infected. That being said, I still wouldn't want to risk drawing them out by creating a commotion. So while we're checking car doors, we should make sure to focus exclusively on older vehicles, like 70s, early 80s shitboxes at the newest. Not only are these less likely to have alarms, they'll also be much easier to hotwire. Not that I'd expect any of them to actually know how to do that. What these three should know about is the fact that there's still a delivery truck with the keys in the ignition parked over at the loading dock. Sure, none of them probably know how to operate it, but it's certainly worth a shot. Look up a tutorial on your phone if you have to. As long as there's no zombies around, we have the time. At the very least, we'll want to avoid any vehicles wherein we can clearly see the red alarm light flashing. After all, the last thing we want to do is go ringing the dinner bell this close to the finish line, which of course is exactly what happens. However, instead of an entire horde coming down on them, we finally get to see what the zombies have been building all this time. And my God, you will never guess what I'm about to show you.
Kong.
Looks like they won't be missing Thanksgiving after all. So yeah, let's just stay low behind the cars and quietly leave as quickly as possible. Worst case scenario, we rock, paper, scissors to see who gets the honor of drawing its attention while the rest of us run like hell. Fortunately, it seems that won't be necessary, as much like Jonathan before him, Brian has also become tired of living. But instead of jumping into a pit full of burning zombies, his preferred method of self-destruction is simply walking up to the Turkeytron and asking politely. Well, okay, he plays it off like he's about to use his special assistant manager powers to somehow pacify the creature, but I mean, come on, who in their right mind would ever assume something like that would actually work? Oh well, let's see how it goes.
My name is Brian, and I love toys! Always
Looks like it loves toys too. Wait, hang on. Chris and Marnie didn't even bother running away during all that? What the hell? Dude literally just wasted his life for nothing. And speaking of wasted lives, here comes Ken emerging from the flames to help save the day. Oh, and in case you were wondering, the Grinch did eventually get a hold of him, but instead of immediately ripping his guts out on the spot, it sort of just dragged him over to the flush pile and left him there while assimilating itself. So yeah, that whole sequence was pretty much a complete waste of time. At any rate, our heroes still need to find a way out of this mess. My money's still on running away as fast as we can, but because Gobblezilla threw a single chunk of concrete that nearly hit them while they were almost perfectly still, the gang assumes that it would be impossible without getting picked off. Yeah, I think I'll take my chances, especially if we all split up. Just wait until it throws something, then move to another piece of cover. On second thought, maybe we don't even have to run away at all. I mean, the monster is trapped inside a burning building. If we're that worried about getting nailed, why don't we just sit tight for a minute and wait for the smell of smoked turkey? It's worth a shot. No, you're right, that would never work. A much better plan would be to have Ken distracted by jumping around in a single spot while Chris races over to a forklift which he somehow knows how to drive. Keep in mind that during this entire exercise in stupidity, the kaiju doesn't throw so much as a single rock at either of them, which pretty much proves that we could have just gotten away on our own. And then there's the fact that Chris's entire plan rests entirely on this happening. Yeah, well, I guess I can't be too critical because the move left that sucker leaking some serious cranberry sauce. And it's dead. Cool. So basically, a single F-16 loaded with AGMs could take out 6 of them. And it's a good thing too, because as we see in the distance while our heroes drive away, there's plenty more turkey to go around. Oh, you're probably wondering where they're headed right now. Well, back inside the store, Ken eventually checked his phone and saw a text from his ex-wife saying that the army's setting up safe zones, which we absolutely would have known about had any of us bothered to check the news back in the warehouse. Fantastic. In the end, only 3 of our original characters made it out alive. However, had they bothered to follow basic disaster guidelines, checked for news updates using the means they all had readily available, they would have known to focus their attention on reaching Ken's vehicle, thereby ensuring the survival of all 7 original group members, to the detriment of society. For that reason, I think Black Friday was beat. Moral of the story, shop online instead.